Okay. Well, welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and give it a minute or two before we get started. This is our last professional growth series webinar of 2021. So we are definitely excited for you all to be here. We'll just wait a couple more seconds here and we'll get started. So we'll see people trickle in. You know, it's a little past the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome to our last professional growth series. Today's topic is the power of service. So we'll learn all about this from Aaron and Laura today from DeVry University. We are so thankful for their time and dedication into this 9 webinar series that we've had, I believe, since the beginning of July, August, that we started our first one. So if you happen to miss any of the webinars, please go to our YouTube channel or please feel free to contact us and we'll send you all those links. If you have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll be answering at the end. And we will receive the slides and the recording of today's session in our post of an email. So be on the lookout for that. And once again, Aaron, Laura, thank you so much. And I'll let you take it from here.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Yes, so sad this is our last one together. Hard to believe we've been doing this since the beginning of the summer. And here we are approaching the middle of October. But as Elizabeth mentioned, today we'll be talking about how to activate the power of service and creating memorable, positive interactions with your clients, your customers, and stakeholders. So we are, again, excited to be back with all of you this morning. And Laura Knapp is partnering with me today for our last session in this series. So, yeah, we are, like I said, more than excited and looking forward to sharing with you all some best practices. You will notice in the session today that there will be some information referenced that is going to sound familiar to you, that we've gone over in one of our previous workshops. And this is a good way to demonstrate how all of the series that we've done so far tie in together to helping you deliver that ultimate level of customer service to your client base. So with that said, let's go ahead and move ahead. Before I start, I have a question for all of you. How important is it to meet your customers' expectations? According to survey results conducted by Salesforce, which is a customer database that I'm sure most of us, if not all, are familiar with, but 67% of customers say their standard for good services are higher than ever. And just over 50% of customers say most companies fall short of meeting their service expectations. So this is why I'm glad that we're all here today, as this workshop is designed to provide you, again, with some valuable takeaways that you can implement immediately to help you decode the language of customer service and take an active role in creating a positive customer experience within your own individual organizations. Today, we're going to cover the basics of creating your message by understanding customer service as a language. Then we will explore a process to help us gather important information to determine the most beneficial approach. Because as we've learned, especially with the generational workshop series a couple of months back, everyone doesn't receive communication in the same way. And then we will dive into the power of words and review some strategies to deliver effective messaging. So when you leave here today, you will have learned a better craft. You will have learned to better craft frame, and deliver compelling messages, and unlock the key to consistently delivering impactful, positive interactions, as we mentioned a moment ago. But before we begin, I again would like to reinforce that the workshop is about you and your participation, your insights, personal experiences will help enhance everyone's experience today. So please, please, please feel free to unmute yourselves or chime in the chat to share as much as possible. And then we'll move forward with another question. How do your customers want to be treated? We'll begin by taking a look at crafting the fundamentals. I recently attended a meeting with a collective of partner schools and other higher education institutions, and a comment was made by an attendee about some training program that they were offering will lead to a job that was better than working at McDonald's. And I for a moment was taken back by that statement, mainly because people tend to undervalue the learning that takes place in service-oriented jobs, such as a McDonald's. And one of those major lessons that you will learn in a service type role is what great customer service is going to look like and how to deliver it. You've probably heard that you should treat customers the way you want to be treated. And it sounds nice, but in reality, effective communication with diverse customers may not be quite so easy to pin down. So what is great customer service, and how do you know what great customer service is? And please feel free to share your thoughts and opinions and insights in the chat, or again, unmute yourselves and share. I know in previous roles, I've gone with the philosophy of treating others the way I want to be treated. Meeting and exceeding customer and client expectations. Yes, good point, Laura. Any insights from Saria or Elizabeth? You all work with the chamber, and you have a variety of different personalities, business backgrounds that you deal with on a regular basis. Compassion is a good one. All great insights. Thank you all for sharing. That is a good point, Laura. Just because I say I want to be treated this way doesn't necessarily mean you'll want to be treated the same way I'm thinking I want to be treated. But the difference between good customer service and great customer service may be rather subtle, but the outcomes can be much more apparent. Good service may result in a barely satisfied customer, while great service may result in a satisfied and highly loyal customer, which is important because impressed customers are not only appreciative, but they're going to be your marketing tool. They're going to be the ones that are going to share with others their experiences with your organization, your business, your company, your service. So you want to make sure that you are at that great service level so that word of mouth marketing works to your advantage. So let's continue to explore how much control you have over the service interaction. Going from good to great takes you as an individual, you understanding who you are and what you are capable of doing and bringing forward and sharing with others. We've gone again through this practice as well and learning what our own personal strengths and weaknesses are and things that we enjoy doing. Again, in previous workshops, one on creating your, designing your career framework, or understanding what your personal communication styles are, or managing your conflict. Those are all opportunities for you to learn about what you bring to the table and how you can make an impact on others. Customers don't generally get their make or break impressions of a company primarily from advertising or branding. They get them primarily from day-to-day conversations with you. So have you ever heard of the Walt Disney World's Take 5 initiative? I know I hadn't prior to experiencing this workshop, but every Disney cast member was encouraged to take 5 minutes every day to do something extra special for a guest. And the rest of the time, of course, Disney cast members were expected to perform at a high level, which is why they're going to say that's the happiest place on earth. And I think that I have to agree there. But at least once a day, they were asked to take it to an even higher level. Can you think of how this relates to your own personal workplaces? What would it look like if we all took just 5 minutes a day to intentionally create stronger interactions? What impact would that make on that one individual that we come into contact with? How is it going to change their perception of our business, their perception of us as individuals? And how are they going to then take that experience and share it with others? First, by making opportunities and as for outreach more personable. Can you name your customers? Some of us, in higher education, Laura can relate, we interact with our students on a day-to-day basis. And that's why it's, for me personally, been difficult operating in this virtual environment, because there is a different connection that can be built when you're in person with someone. And I feel like we're missing out on that in this virtual environment, but we still make a way to connect with our students and via phone or video calls. But we know who we are here to support, and in our higher education is our students. And you all's different lines of work, who are your customers? Whether you're in customer service or sales or not, we like to say we all have customers. So again, who is your customer, and what services and do you all offer or provide? We've been in these workshop series. We don't know what everyone's backgrounds are. Students, partners, internal teams, our customers, clients. Yes, I definitely have to agree there, Laura. Even our external organizations that we partner with. But thank you for sharing that insight. Is your customer a fan looking for entertainment? Is there a business in need of IT solutions, or a consumer in search of home goods? You might even consider your customer your supervisor. Rosa, yes, I try my best to remember names and business. It brings something personal to that relationship. But it's essential for you to know your customer and understand their specific needs and wants. And this plays into the significance of all those customer service satisfaction surveys we all get. I know every time I go and drop my car off, even if I'm just getting some air put in the tires, I'm getting a customer service survey, because they want to know, how was I greeted? What was my wait time looking like? When they return the car, what processes did they go through to return my car? Did they go over all the services that were done on that day? And then would I share or suggest the dealership to a family or friend? Those types of surveys we are all familiar with. They play a role with the organization learning who their customers are and what the customers want. They are trying to understand our service needs and how they may need to tweak their process in order to meet the needs of their consumers and elevate that level of service that they're providing. Language is fundamental. In order to be successful with your customer interactions, we must be able to communicate. Again, another point that has been repeatedly stressed throughout every single workshop we have done since we started these back in June. Communicate, communicate, communicate effectively. And the language we use underlies all components of customer satisfaction. So for example, a perfect product won't be experienced as perfect unless you also use the right language in describing it to customers. Even your best intentioned, technically flawless employees can alienate customers if they use the wrong language. When you have a service failure, the right words can be your best ally. So positive language is a big key to improve customer relationships. I was thinking back on how my uncle went to work for a high-end spa back in Chicago. And as he was training, the organization had created a list of what they called Forbes words. And that's what they wanted and instilled in all of their employees, to use that language and those words when speaking with their customers. As an organization, they take the language used with customers to improve their relationships and service. It created a positive experience. They were putting those positive reinforced words out there as they were speaking with customers and about their products and services. So again, you controlling the narrative of how people feel about what it is that you're offering. So with that said, do you think it's necessary to change your approach to service based on your customer? I know me personally, I would say absolutely. Yes, Saria, I agree. You cannot tell everyone the same thing and expect the same positive result or outcome. As Laura mentioned earlier, just because I say I treat people the way I want to be treated, she may not want to be treated like I want to be treated. So yes, we have to understand our customers and do our best to control the positive results and outcomes. This is where using a process which helps craft or frame the correct language can lead you to deliver the message your customer needs to hear. Let's look at the first action step. Most of the successful people I've known are the ones who do more listening than talking. Again, another point we have gone over in several of these workshops. That is because this is a very, very, very important point. Again, I've shared it throughout our different workshops. We have all been around someone that likes to talk more than they are listening, or they give you that false sense of security and thinking that they're paying some attention to you by nodding their heads or doing that and haven't heard a word you said. But it's interesting to think about, how is it that our first instinctive behavior when learning language, which is listening, has become what many people described as an underdeveloped skill? We are actually not taught to listen. So we have to develop that skill set and you know, make it where we're being genuine and actually actively listening. Much of our ability to communicate effectively with others stems from our willingness to listen effectively, a skill for which we are provided very, very, very little formal training. An emphasis is placed on our ability to generate coherent expressions, but this accounts for only part of what is required for us to be successful with our customer interactions. We have to genuinely understand those with whom we seek to interact with and serve. Stephen Covey's classic work, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, dealt extensively with the importance of people skills. And if you are in leadership and you have not read that book, definitely suggest you go pick it up and look into what's shared there. It's awakening. And an eye-opening rather. But he recommends that we seek first to understand and then to be understood. Understanding how others see things makes it easier to communicate with them in ways that they'll relate. He makes clear that active listening is essential to our ability to communicate effectively. Active listening is about making a conscious effort to understand what people are really saying. Using both of your ears, watching and maintaining eye contact, and giving undivided attention, and finally being empathetic. Those key points go a very, very, very long way, especially in one-on-one interactions. I mean, I don't know if you have ever had any one-on-one meetings with individuals, but it's very important to maintain that eye contact, not being distracted by, you know, devices or sending off emails while the other person is talking, which demonstrates that you're not actively listening. So be aware of, you know, what you're doing while you're listening to someone else. And then we have empathetic listening, which is about really understanding the person who's talking to you, paying attention to another person with emotional identification and compassion and feeling and insight. Empathetic listening, therefore, makes us better communicators and also motivates those with whom we wish to communicate to be more willing to listen to us. And I want to be the first to admit that this was a work in progress for me with the empathetic listening. At some point earlier in my management career, I really thought that, I had to have this, stern face on all the time and, come off like I'm not personable. But that wasn't the right route. It caused me to come off or be perceived as cold. And people weren't comfortable coming to speak to me. So as soon as I realized that I need to change my approach and be more empathetic with others, my relationships with those in my immediate circle changed. The way I interacted with customers and clients, students, all of that changed once I learned empathetic listening and being able to connect again on that emotional level, because it goes so far with individuals. But again, all these points tie back into our workshops on effective communication and understanding different communication styles, especially of individuals of different generations. We've already shared that many of us, we come from different generations and our communication preferences they vary slightly. But again, we are learning what communication works best with those that we interact with on a regular basis. And on that note, I will pass it on over to you now, Laura.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Erin, for everything that you have shared so far. And I think 100% active listening, empathic listening, asking questions, and sort of understanding who our customers are and taking a moment to discern, really who is our customer. And I think we all know who our customers are, right? I think we have more potentially customers than we think we do. I always consider my supervisor as a customer, and maybe I'm her customer in a way. I consider internal teams that we work with and deliver, deliverables to as sort of customers. I want to make sure that I'm delivering, what has been promised and maybe exceed expectations, right, in the workplace, and certainly with our own students, doing the same, and with our own partners. So discerning who are our customers, right? Who are they really? What do they expect? Until we know what those expectations are, we won't be able to exceed them. So we're going to talk about framing interactions. It does start with listening. Listening, I believe, comes from, it's a fruit of emotional intelligence. Okay. And I know we've all, talked about emotional intelligence. Maybe we've read the books, maybe we've done workshops. I know we've talked about it a lot. Erin's talked about it and presented on it in various different of the workshops that we've done here. It really is. It's the ability, first and foremost, to recognize, understand, and influence the emotions of others while we're managing our own emotions, right? That self-awareness, understanding how we feel, putting a name to it, and then managing it, when we feel those emotions, in the workplace, with clients, et cetera. And we can use emotional intelligence as sort of a filter. If you think about it, people say, oh my gosh, this person has no filter. And sometimes it's just maybe a lack of self-awareness or a lack of intelligence or understanding, the situation. So I would say emotional intelligence is that filter, right? And Daniel Goleman's work, I'm sure you've, all read the books, or at least, seen a lot of his work. His work was really striking. And he found that while technical skills and IQ did predict performance and success to a certain degree, a large degree, emotional intelligence turned out to be twice as important for overall and long-term success. Okay. And he found also through the research that was done that this was true for all job levels, entry level, maybe that McDonald's employee or that Disney employee. Retail is a great training ground, I think, for customer service, all the way through the organization and even to the top, right? Into that C-suite. Okay. Emotions can drive our behavior and impact people around us positively or negatively. And so learning how to, I don't want to say control, but just learning how to manage those emotions, both our own and working with others, especially when there's stress involved. Sometimes at the workplace, what have you, there's stress, right? There's pressure. And so learning how to manage, our own, and then recognizing and working with people around us, very, very key. Okay, so the importance of people skills. We'll just call these people skills. Why not? It cannot be underestimated. We're going to participate in just a really brief exercise. Hopefully people have a pen and paper handy nearby or something that they can jot, notes down. And this will help us relate emotional intelligence back to our own effectiveness with clients. Okay, so on the next slide, hopefully you have something to write with, or even, on your phone, or pull up a Word document. Okay, we're going to find out where we excel, where our strengths are, and where there may be some areas of opportunity. So on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 meaning it's a big area of opportunity, right? We need to work in this area. And 5 meaning it's an area where we excel. Please rate your skill level for these 6, skills. Attentiveness. How attentive are you? How attentive are you when listening? Maybe within this workshop, within any meeting that you're a part of. How attentive do you tend to be? Do you hang on every word? Or have you maybe heard some feedback over time from a family member or somebody on your team, like, oh my gosh, are you listening? I think we all know who we are, when it comes to attentiveness and listening skills. How about patience and self-control? Do people tell you, oh my gosh, you are so patient, or are you told something else, try to be more patient? Sometimes we get this feedback from family members, right? So number 3, the ability to use positive language. Are we even aware? Are we using positive language and power words? And Erin was referring to those, was it Forbes vocabulary? Are we able to use positive language even when we're really stressed? Even when we're under pressure? Okay, are we able to maintain that positive language? What about persuasive speaking skills? Do you feel that you're persuasive, or do you feel that, oh my gosh, people don't, when I make my point, I don't know if I'm getting it across. Sometimes it depends on the situation, depends on the day. Sometimes I feel very persuasive. Sometimes I feel I'm very not persuasive at all. So sometimes it depends on the situation. But overall, do you feel that you have persuasive speaking skills? Taking responsibility, again, maybe something that you've gotten some feedback at home or at work. Do you feel that you've taken responsibility for your successes, right? And for things that maybe don't turn out as well as you thought they would, or exactly how you thought they would. So take a couple minutes to rate yourself between 1 and 5. Finally, willingness to improve, and really, if you think there's no room for improvement, if you're already there, then, that's one thing. If you feel like, oh my gosh, there are areas, that I would like to improve, and, I am willing to maybe take some classes or research this out a little bit more, just be a little bit more patient, next time, and kind of work on the skill. So willingness. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to rate yourselves in these areas, and we'll move on. And I'm going to talk about social and emotional learning. So willingness to improve implies, the ability to learn. So emotional intelligence is learned, through, they call it social and emotional learning. That's the process through which adults can understand better and manage their emotions. They can set and achieve positive goals. They can begin to feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, very key. Rosa was talking about remembering people's names, right? And their businesses. That goes a lot towards developing those positive relationships, right? And then finally, making responsible decisions. So I want to underline that, and we know all this, right? We've probably taken, similar trainings here and there. Self-awareness should not be confused with self-absorption or self-centeredness. The former helps us to correct and improve ourselves and always be learning and just, being aware and seeing where we, may need to tweak a few things, and also recognize where we are, doing really good and kind of lead with those strengths. It helps us to see where we might need to know, where we might need to know something, but we don't. Maybe we think, oh my gosh, something's missing. I don't know, something's missing. That was a challenging conversation. Was that me, or was that, what am I missing? Sometimes we need to reflect a little bit and spend some time. So that's self-awareness. While self-centeredness is kind of that, like, I think I know it all. I think I'm good. I think I'm all set. Bottom line, if we don't know ourselves, we can't grow ourselves. Okay, so awareness is about coming to know ourselves. And I would say it's a journey. Maybe we never get, to that ultimate culmination, but we start to feel like, yeah, no, I do know myself, and I'm starting to know the people around me a little bit better. And then on the next slide, so we're going to review those 5 basic elements that I just spoke about, that are the 5 basic elements of social and emotional learning. Okay. So yes, once again, self-awareness, the ability to recognize and understand our own moods and emotions, as well as their effect or impact on others. And maybe we notice the moods of those around us, the emotions of others. Self-regulation, the ability to control or manage any disruptive impulse, right? And also to suspend judgment and to think a little bit before acting or blurting something out or assuming. Oh, well, I was assuming he wanted me, to do this, and no, so self-regulation is kind of the ability to take a step back, slow down. Social awareness and empathy, the ability to understand indeed the emotions of other people. Relationship skills and social skills is the ability to manage relationships and build on those relationships and build networks, right? The more successful relationships and networks that we can become a part of, I feel that impacts our overall service levels. Responsible decision-making, making constructive choices about personal behavior and social interactions based on ethical standards, safety, and social norms. And I'm going to go ahead and ask, anybody in the audience, right? Maybe one of the areas of opportunity, and identify which elements of social and emotional learning you may need to develop. So I'm going to repeat the, sort of the 6 areas that we rated ourselves on: attentiveness, patience, self-control, ability to use positive language, persuasive speaking skills, taking responsibility, and willingness to improve. Were there any areas of opportunity? Anybody who had skill scores of like 1, 2, or anything, I guess 3 or below? We're going to talk about, how we might focus in, on those areas and build them up, and all with the goal of helping to improve, right? The topic of this workshop is helping to improve our customer interactions and turning them from good to great, to stellar, to phenomenal. Okay, and to always be in that constant improvement mode. So, okay, so I see a little bit here. Aaron, attentiveness is an opportunity, right? Especially after being in meetings all day. Of course, bandwidth begins to drop. We're tired, and so being aware of that is very key, And I think it's, that's where we start. As long as you're aware, we can take action to say, okay, I'm tired. Oh my gosh, is there any way to reschedule this meeting? Is there any way for me to grab a hot tea or hot water and lemon, hot coffee, whatever, take a quick power nap. Now that we're all, many of us are working from home, I don't know. Can I walk around the block? Something to reestablish or reset my energy levels after I've been in meetings all day and I know I'm not going to be attentive. I know this is going to be a huge challenge for me, right? Rosa earlier in the chat mentioned, listening, empathetic listening is something it requires practice and time, right? And all of these areas, thank goodness, these are skills that can be improved, while research shows that, IQ is something that is more or less set at an early date. Yes, there are things we can do to improve and heighten and tighten, that IQ, but emotional intelligence is something that truly throughout life we can work on and improve. So yeah, depending on where we are, we'll go to the next slide. This is just an example. So if we had said, okay, effective listening is something that I have a challenge with, and we're going to go back to the wheel in just a second. But for example, if you found that effective listening was one of your areas of opportunity, you may look at the wheel and say, yeah, relationship skills. Relationship skills. Do I feel empathy for the people that I'm, listening to? Self-awareness, self-regulation, right? Maybe I'm letting my mind go, in a million different directions, or, I'm having these urges to kind of, jump in and blurt out, different things that maybe it would serve me to just, kick back and listen a little bit more. Okay. So going back to the wheel, right? Our same slide, social and emotional learning. There's just more bullet points here. Okay, so depending on any areas of weakness, or we'll call them areas of opportunity, you would go to one of these segments within the wheel and say, okay, self-awareness. I don't, feel very self-aware. It's about identifying emotions, naming them, creating an accurate self-perception, self-regulation. If you feel like you have impulse control, or you're one of those people that doesn't have the filter, how can I build on that self-discipline? Social awareness, developing that empathy, appreciating diversity, respecting, all of those around us, for, where they're coming from, their different perspectives. Relationship building, thinking about social engagement, thinking about relationships perhaps a little bit more. If you feel like, oh my gosh, my relationships could use a little boost, starting with thinking about them and maybe giving more, in the teamwork, that you're involved in and day out. Responsible decision making, analyzing situations carefully, solving problems, and then thinking about your ethical responsibility. Okay, so these are all areas that we can just kind of, dig into and hone in on. And there's so many resources out there, on the internet, and so many different learning programs. So if you feel like maybe you're coming up short in one of these different areas, I would say go to that wheel, dig into that, type of learning that you may want to, go a little bit deeper into. And with that, I'm going to turn the presentation back over to Erin, who's going to talk about delivering with impact.
Yes, so we've crafted the fundamentals, and then we framed our interactions. Now let's deliver with impact. Especially because we're all working with technology so much, which I mentioned earlier. I'm so missing that interpersonal relationship and interactions with my students on campus. But it's important to remind ourselves sometimes that we are not robots. There are various techniques to effectively communicate with your customers, and here are 4 approaches. 1, the impact words. You can impact a customer interaction both positively and negatively with your choice of words. Going back to the spa situation with my uncle, using those Forbes words when interacting with that customer base and talking with them about their products and services. And then tone matching. It's not just what you say, but it's how you say it. Another personal learning experience for me earlier on in management was me being self-aware of my tone and how I was delivering things and how it sounded when it came out of my mouth, or even if I was typing something. That written communication can have a tone. Reflective listening. Conversation is a give and take process. And then lastly, tailoring your message. You want to understand your customer's point of view. They don't know what you know. So whenever you're communicating with a customer, it's actually a good thing to loosen up a bit and use natural language. Sometimes, in academia, we tend to want to show we have this extended vocabulary, but we have to remember sometimes who we're talking to. They may not understand anything coming out of our mouth if we don't use plain, simple words. So just be yourself, be loose, be natural, be personable, respond with genuine concern and intent to solve the issue and provide the best solution to a customer need. So let's go a little bit more into tone matching. Even when we are prepared to deliver just the right words, we must also consider how we say the message. Using the right tone can provide intent, emphasis, and emotion so we can convey support and understanding. The tones we are all striving for in our customer interaction. Inflection helps to convey intent. Think about when a customer service rep speaks to you in a dull, flat, monotone voice. What I personally hear is, I'm bored and have no interest in what you are talking about. That said, if you're in a role where you tend to have to repeat the same thing over and over and over throughout the day, it can be easy to slip into this habit, which is where self-awareness comes in. And knowing that no matter how many times we've said the same thing already, the customer they might be hearing it for the first time. So sometimes an inappropriately cheerful tone can completely throw off a conversation, as your customer listens confused, thinking, why are they so happy? They must not be listening to me. Or you clearly don't understand my problem and you're not taking it seriously. So again, just being cautious of tone. Professionalism, which we all tend to have our own definition of, but it isn't necessarily a tone. But when we strive to sound professional, it can make you come across any number of ways. Serious, responsible, intelligent, confident, and acting with urgency. But if it's done incorrectly, if you don't have the correct definition or understanding of professionalism, it can also cause you to sound cold and detached and apathetic or condescending. So again, me in my earlier management career, thinking that my idea of professionalism was being cold and stone-faced. I was not connecting with people. So I had to reevaluate, self-assess what professionalism really is, and then come across, more personable, human, soft, but still being demonstrating rather my being responsible and taking whatever the issue is at hand very serious. Some of us are born with naturally interesting voices and inflection seems effortless, while others of us need to practice it. Practicing stressing your words and being aware of how stressing certain words changes the feeling of what you're saying. So let's take this sentence, for example. What would you like for us to do about it? Changes in feeling and meaning and tone when you emphasize, okay, for example, would you? So if I were to say, what would you like for us to do about it? It sounds a little bit more defensive, like, okay, you're bringing this to my attention. What you expecting from me? Or if we do so in curiosity by emphasizing the like us, what would you like us to do about it? Now I'm seeming like I'm engaging a little bit more and actually listening and wanting to know what is it that the customer is expecting of us. Or you can say it with apathy, not emphasizing any of the words. What would you like us to do about it? Each one of those examples sounds a little different and comes across different in tone based on how you emphasize the words within the statement that you're sharing or a question you're asking. This is when it becomes imperative that you choose the right words. Can someone share one or two words that you think would be considered impact words or you consider positively or would affect a customer in a positive way, and then why? Or can you share an example of words you think we should avoid? Because there are also words that we should steer very clear from, which could negatively affect the customer interaction. Phenomenal. That's a good one, Laura. Mm-hmm. Good point, Saria. We don't go too much into full statements here, but that is a very good point, because again, the tone can have a different effect on that customer interaction from an entire statement, not just a word. But here's a list of several impact words to keep top of mind. We see a few examples of powerfully positive words that can help impact the customer interaction. I will definitely make sure that gets sorted. I absolutely agree with you. I can certainly help you. That is exactly right. I completely agree with you. I will quickly run through this with you. I can highly recommend. Those are all, again, positive impact words. Don't be afraid of sounding too upbeat. Words such as fantastic and great, phenomenal, are very positive words that can really inject some energy into a telephone conversation, or as we're experiencing right now, these video calls and meetings. They all can take a different effect and energy on the conversation. When communicating with our customers, we typically have the best intentions in mind, right? But the way we use our words, as we've been stressing throughout this presentation, could be detrimental to providing a positive customer interaction. For example, using words such as just or should, actually, hopefully. Laura mentioned unfortunately and avoiding that. Granted, there are exceptions. For example, the just and I just double checked that setting and all looks well implies immediacy and sounds less stuffy. Whereas just go to that section over there and you'll see the widget on the middle shelf sounds annoyed and makes the sentence worse. When in a live customer interaction, it could be difficult to determine how to best use these words, which is why it may just be in our best interest to eliminate them from our customer service vocabulary, because we'd all have that customer service vocabulary. But now let's look at a few techniques for putting these words to good use. Laura?
Okay, thank you so much, Erin. Yeah, just reviewing those positive power words and sometimes words that I think when in doubt, we should just avoid. Super important. And just to review, yeah, the emotional kind of intelligence side of thing, the active listening. I'm going to change gears a little bit and just talk about how we can frame up, how we can frame up sort of situations with customers, especially if there's an issue. Somebody calls us or contacts us or emails us, with an issue, or we're on the phone with somebody and I know we're getting back, into the offices and everything. So even face to face, you're hearing an issue for the first time. And once again, yes, it definitely starts with really good listening and hopefully a really high level of emotional intelligence, right? We know what this question is, how it's making us feel. We're kind of sensing what the emotions are, that our customer is experiencing. Hopefully we're allowing us to feel that and get a sense of where we are. And what I'd like to do is just go over this technique of tentative opening, perceived feeling, following with a preposition, and ending with a paraphrase. And it's important because, we don't want to prolong, especially if there's a challenging situation, you don't want to prolong it too long. And I know, growing up in, my professional life, I was always taught, ask a lot of questions. And even here, we're saying, yes, do ask questions. That said, you don't want to pepper a customer with too many questions. You don't want to make them feel like they're getting the third degree. Maybe we've been in that situation where you feel like you're getting the third degree and it's just like, oh my God, I've already explained this. So you want to be careful. You want to avoid too many questions. And so, yeah, it's definitely reflective listening. And, it starts with that. And a tentative opening is basically kind of restating what you believe the situation is. Okay, is this what you mean? Is this what's going on? Okay, in a way that quickly builds rapport. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide, which has, an example of how this could go. A customer can say, I can't believe this. This is the third time this month I've had to talk with a representative about the same problem with my new product. Oh my gosh, so obviously they're feeling frustrated. A reflective response could be, oh, the same, and it's tentative because maybe we don't exactly 100% know exactly what's going on, but we want to sort of paraphrase what we've heard. So I could say, oh, so the same problem is occurring and this is the third time. Okay, so that's why we call it tentative opening. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I'm 90% sure, but I volley that out. I put that out there. The same, okay, the same problem's occurring. This is the third time. And then you follow up with a feeling, or you kind of state how you feel that they're feeling. Oh no, that must be frustrating. And it's okay. This shows empathy. And sometimes I know in the workplace, we don't, we talk about like, you don't want to buy into the customer's over negativity. At the same time, it's okay to show some rapport or to say, oh my gosh, that must be frustrating. I get that. And then we follow with sort of a preposition statement, especially having to call back about the same issue 3 times. Okay, I get it. So your product is still giving you problems and you haven't gotten the resolution yet. The last closing statement could be just you paraphrasing the issue again, or if you have a solution, maybe you even want to put that out there, really quickly. I can take a return today. I can fix this right now by giving you a return. This is under warranty. Let me take care of it right now so we can get this, over and done with, and you can move on. So that's sort of what we mean by the opening, the feeling, the about, the thought. I know we're coming up a little bit on time, so I'm not going to belabor this too much, but I think this is I use this a lot, when speaking with students. And we always speak with, happy students, but sometimes there's a question about when is the diploma being shipped or something like that, or maybe there is a question that has gone unresolved, and so this is really something that I employ a lot, in the workplace or even with partners. Okay, I'm hearing this. I totally get it because of that. And here's my parting thought. Here's what we can do. Here's what I'm thinking. Okay. So super, super important to know, in closing, kind of who is the individual in need of this information. If you don't exactly know who your customer is, do your research. If you're talking with a new type of customer or you're following up with somebody else's customer, ask those questions, maybe not 101 questions, but ask a couple questions, do your research, and find out who that customer is. Okay. What is the information they need to know? Okay, what is it that they need to know? And sometimes TMI, we don't want to overwhelm customers with too much information and try to impress them with all of our knowledge. They just need to know what they need to know, right? And if we don't know, then, we have to find out and come back to them, or put them in touch with somebody else who does know. So listening skills again, and learning what those needs and wants are, and not overwhelming with TMI. Okay, why? Again, the why is the customer needing this information now? If you don't know, again, seek understanding of the value and qualify, never discount why they need something or why they're asking something. It could be like, why do you need this? Why do you need to know this now? Probably there is a good reason. So we always assume, positive intent and seek to understand the why. So if you don't know, bottom line, the who, the what, and the why, you'll need to, kind of really figure that out. Okay. Until you know that, you're not going to be able to know what's needed in this situation and develop a compelling message, if that makes sense. So using technology, I've talked about, in person, I've talked about telephone. Let's not forget, right, that we're communicating with customers over social media, over text, over instant message, video conferencing, so many video conferences now. I think email has become overwhelming. I'm getting to the state where like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I think I have too many emails, and I think I'm probably sending out too many emails as well, because some of them don't get responded to. So again, I think being really ready to have those listening skills, no matter what the format is or what the technology is that we're using, super, super important. Oh my gosh, moving right along. Really, the question is, how will we take action, after today? We started our session with the intention to learn how to decode language and the language of customer service, right? And we've talked about a lot of proactive actions that we can implement, starting with ourselves and our own self-awareness, in creating very positive customer interactions. And so, wow, I sure hope this has been helpful and you've taken some nuggets from this presentation. I'm going to pass the baton back to Erin to wrap us up a little bit.
Right. Thanks so much, Laura. But yeah, in wrapping up our key points from today, again, just reinforcing that you know your audience. Understand who your customer is. Ask the questions as you seek to understand their wants and needs. Being attentive, the ability to really listen to customers is so crucial for providing great service for a number of reasons. Also important to be mindful and attentive to the feedback that you receive at large. What are your customers telling you without saying it? So being active and empathetic listening is key. Your persuasion skills, again, listening is so important. And then impact words, tone matching, reflective listening, tailoring your message, and then closing, abruptly ending a customer service call before all of their problems have been addressed can be very upsetting to the customer. Rosa mentioned earlier, needing to be more patient with her customers that tend to be a little bit more needing of her time and attention. But be sure to take the time to confirm that all of your customers' issues have been addressed or resolved. Your willingness to do this shows the customer three important things. One, that you care about getting it right. Two, that you're willing to keep going until you get it right. And that the customer is the one who determines what right is.
Well said.
Again, just want to share that DeVry University is here for any of your adult learning needs. We do have associate bachelor's, master's, and certificates in healthcare administration, business, and technology. We have online options right now only, but we do have over 40 campuses across the United States. We do review your possible transfer courses from other higher learning institutions for possible course credit. And then you have a dedicated support team from the moment you look into the programs at DeVry University through to graduation, along with all the resources you may need to succeed. So with that, I want to thank you all so much for joining us through this 9-part series on professional development skills. This is the contact information for me and Laura. If you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to email or call us. We are here to continue to support you all and answer any questions that may pop up randomly throughout your day. And I will turn it back over to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Laura. These, very great information as always. These sessions were definitely very encouraging and lots of knowledge from you both. Looks like we're a little bit over time, but again, we'll share your contact information with today's attendees, and we hope to bring back workshops with you all in 2022. So we're definitely excited and wish you continued success over at DeVry, and hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Have a great day. Take care.